everybody, and welcome back to Ordinary People. And welcome if you're new to us. This is episode 3. My name is Brenda, and I am a Methodist layperson. And I've been saying that that's just who I am, that I'm not representing the Methodist Church. And that's right. But it has occurred to me that Methodism and its emphasis on social justice does highly influence what I'm looking at and what I'm reading. But let's get on to number 3. And I am using an NIV version, New International. So if your version's a little different, the wording might be just a bit different. And today we're going to look at Noah. But we're not going to look at the part of Noah that y'all are the most familiar with, I'm sure. We are looking first Genesis 8, verses 1 to 19. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark. And he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now the springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling from the sky. The water receded steadily from the earth. At the end of the 150 days, at the end of the 150 days, water had gone down, and on the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountain of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month, and on the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains became visible. After 40 days, Noah opened a window he made in the ark and sent out a raven, and it kept flying back and forth until the waters had dried up on the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove could find nowhere to perch because there was water all over the surface of the earth, so it returned to Noah in the ark. He reached out his hand and took the dove and brought it back to himself in the ark. He waited 7 more days and again sent out the dove from the ark. When the dove returned to him in the evening, there in its beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Then Noah knew that water had receded from the earth. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out again, but this time it did not return to him. By the first day of the first month of Noah's 601st year, the water had dried up from the earth. Noah then removed the covering from the ark and saw that the surface of the ground was dry. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the earth, so that they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number." So Noah came out together with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives. All the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on land, came out of the ark, one kind after the other. Now we're going to skip to chapter 9, verses 18 to 21. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. These were the 3 sons of Noah, and from them came the people who scattered over the earth. Noah was a man of soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay unconscious inside his tent. And that's where we're going to end the story, because we're looking mainly now today at Noah after the flood. Noah after the flood is a very different man than Noah before the flood. Noah before the flood is obedient, and God sees that he's righteous and gives him commandments, and he obeys. He's very good at it. He doesn't question God. He just does it. But perhaps when you look at the fact that he got drunk, one of the first things that he's doing afterwards, he's doing all this work. So if you think about it, you come out of the earth Everybody's dead. First of all, he's a little reluctant. He doesn't come out until God says, come on out. He waits until definitely God says, come on out. Because he knows that there's trees and stuff out there. He sent the dove off, but he's still waiting. God says, come on out. So he comes out. And I can see why he might have been reluctant. I mean, if we think about it, he's in there. What has happened while he's been in there? Everybody that he has ever known, family, friends, acquaintances, business partners, businessmen, they're dead. They're gone. It's one giant graveyard out there. All the town that he knew is gone. His home is gone. His friend's home is gone. It's a new world for him. How scary that must have been to step out and know, okay, we're going to have to start again. We have to start everything. And I can see, you first step out, there's a lot to do. You got to build a house. Well, at least he's got wood handy. I'm sure he probably would have scavenged some of the ark. Any good carpenter would have built himself a house. He has to get the livestock ready to, start multiplying. He has to plow his fields. One of the first crops he grows is grapes. Now, I know there's a lot of talk that, wine was drunk and ale because you weren't always sure of the safety of the water. I mean, it was a much safer drink. And they're used to this. But actually, Noah here drinks to excess, to the point he passes out. People who drink till they pass out are usually escaping something. So if we look at this, Noah is our first victim of PTSD. He's got some post-traumatic stress disorder going on. And I think that that's pretty obvious in the fact that, he's using the alcohol probably to get a first solid sleep of, not waking up with nightmares. Because think of what he's been through. He's been on that ship when the rain started. How many people did he hear calling out to him? Bring me aboard, save me. It's a horrible place to be in. And if you think about what he's been through, we know that many others have been through the same thing. And if you look at it, PTSD was actually not defined and accepted until like 1980. So it's a relatively new diagnosis, okay? I think before they used to call it things like, I've forgotten the word. But they knew that something like that existed even in World War I and World War II. But it wasn't battle fatigue. Battle fatigue. That's the word I was looking for. They were calling it battle fatigue. But then psychologists, psychiatrists, and doctors realized that it was more than just being from war. The Holocaust survivors had a tremendous amount of PTSD. And in this version, in Noah's version, and in the Holocaust survivors' versions, you're looking at a survivor's guilt. Why did I survive, but so-and-so not survive? And in some ways, Holocaust survivors surviving was as random seeming as Noah and his family. God picked him out of everybody, and it must have seemed incredibly random. Because although God says that, he's destroying the mankind because of their behavior, Noah knew good people. We all know good people who probably would not have been chosen to survive the flood. So we've got some serious physical and mental issues going on. He and his family are to rebuild and repopulate the world. They have to start farming and livestock. They have to rebuild everything that they knew based on just them, as far as they know. So it's a very difficult place to be in, and I wonder sometimes how much the children, his sons, suffered from this also. But it's obvious that that's the last we hear of Noah. Other than the lists of his descendants, we don't hear anything more. We see a man who, prior to the flood, upstanding, righteous, and after the flood, our last vision of him is drunk, passed out, angry with his children. We see someone broken by the events of his life. How many people do we meet each day that are broken? Some are broken more than others. Obviously, we're not all exactly the same. And I think all of us have broken in some way. Some of us, if you look at like a big old pot, some of us have just some little cracks, maybe a small chip. Some of us have been totally crushed and then rebuilt. And during that process of rebuilding, as you're trying to glue one piece onto another, or that one doesn't fit there, and you have to discard it and get the new one. It's a whole process that can undo you as it is. So what are we as Christians? What's our Christian response? What is the Christ response to that? I think that that's a complicated one because we all have different abilities. But I think the biggest thing is, number one, we always need to act in love. And acting in love means not damaging someone else. However, we want to, deny them medical care, deny them access to food, to homes and shelter. Our homelessness problem is a broken people problem, and we're not willing to take these broken people and support them while they rebuild themselves. We've got the idea that, you have to prove yourself worthy of being provided for. You have to have your pieces all together again and re-glued into a passable looking pot in order to get the food, the shelter, the medical care. And that is like totally backwards. Totally. How does someone glue the pieces together when they've got no place to glue them together? When you're on the streets, when you're homeless, the only thing you can do is hold on to that bag of pieces and hope that sometime you're going to get a place where you can settle down to actually start putting them together. You can't put them together if you're hungry. You can't put them together if you're alone, It's actually a two-person minimum job. So, as Christians, the Christian response is in acting in love and looking at the broken people, like poor Noah, who goes from a fine, upstanding man to a broken man. I think that we often forget that the man up in the fine suit in the upper office, or even the preacher in front of us, are very good at maybe holding on to their bag of pieces, but they're not together yet. They're not glued together yet. And we all do this. Sometimes, like Noah, we put that bag aside and just forget it. We're going to do whatever it takes to forget that bag of pieces that needs to be put back together. I hope that you can look at Noah again in different eyes. I'd kind of dismissed some of the story, because it's rather fantastical. And I kept thinking of Noah as this very upright, obedient servant of God. And he was. But he also got broken. And he still needs the same love, the same admiration, same feelings of he's a hero. Because he was. I mean, he saved his family. He saved the animals. He needs to know that those feelings are still there. They're still valid. And the person that you meet on the street, whether a homeless person valiantly carrying his bag of pieces, or the executive in the corner office hiding his bag of pieces, y'all need the same thing. And that's love of Christ from us. And it's not always easy. And that's why we can do it together. We should do it together. And we should do it with Christ's love flowing through us. Because he has enough love to make these things happen. We just have to be bold enough to step out and claim it. Think about Noah this week and the broken people you know, and know that just like us, everybody has broken pieces. Some not to the extent of having PTSD, but we've all got them. And how we can do that through Christ. Thank you, and we will see you next week with episode 4 on Abram.